Welcome in, everybody, to the Forward Progress Tuesday Best Bet Show. That's right. We don't just do Thursday Best Bet Show. We said we're going to diversify. We need more faces in here. We need to do something to pump our record from last year. I'm your host on Tuesdays, and the two faces with me, I'm G-Stack George. I've got Flup with me. I've got Judah with me. I'm really looking forward to this, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
Of course.
It's funny though, on the Thursday show, we do this circa competition, and the other show went undefeated. And I'm sitting here, we got a losing record on that, guys. So, if we're gonna be the A team, I need you guys to step that up, okay, guys?
All right, fair enough.
I'm really looking forward to this, and honestly, we're gonna go game by game. We're gonna be giving out 3 plays each. We're gonna have a triple hammer, a double hammer, a single hammer. We're treating them as like 1.5 units, 1 unit, half a unit. We're gonna give you analysis on the market, how these teams match up, and we'll be going game by game. And then at the end, we're gonna recap it. So stick around for that. But I actually wanted to start with the Washington Green Bay Thursday night football game. Right now, the game looks like in market it's 3.5. If you can pull that up, Jacob, and it is
or like a 3.25.
Yeah, it's juiced, and the total right now is again 48.5 at FanDuel, and some of the injuries that we're watching for in that game is it's basically all the Packers O-line injuries. It's Zach Tom, Aaron Banks, and then they're also banged up at corner, Nate Hobbs and Bo Melton, and there was discussions that Zach Tom is going to miss some time, and it looks like 3.5 minus 105 for the Packers, 48.5 to the under minus 115. I guess I want to start with you, Judah, because you want to get us smoking right out the gate. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I like Washington at 3.5. Or I guess if I was forced to choose, would take Washington here. I think that there are a couple of things to digest with looking at Green Bay's performance, right? There is a question of like how much better is Green Bay's defense with Micah Parsons, and also the question of like, well, how much of that is a reflection of one game. I should caveat that, like, obviously this is a sample size problem, but that's kind of the name of the game, is working off the information we have here. And then that's a question of like, well, how good are the Lions offense? And like, is this Packers solid defensive performance really a reflection of the Lions, or is it a reflection of the Packers? I'm inclined to, or the Lions, excuse me. I'm inclined to believe that I think it has more to do with the Lions than it does the Packers defense. I mean, the pressure numbers were insane for them. And even like I track something called disruption, which is times in which there is either perfect coverage or the defense disrupts the quarterback from ever being able to go through his progression. And they were at like 65%. That is an insanely high number last week. I think like league base rate is like 42% there. I don't think that's going to continue. And also even looking at, this is a Washington offensive line, which does not appear to be a huge strength. And the Giants defensive line by all means, at least on paper, looks to be like one of the best units in the NFL. And they allowed only like a 20% pressure rate. And on the fact that Jaden Daniels is kind of the exact quarterback to mitigate a lot of those effects. And I think they match up pretty well. And I think, frankly, this is a defense that's probably a bit overrated relative to market.
Yeah, for myself, and I'll be honest with you, I actually make the line higher than it is right now, but I haven't bet it because I am waiting for those injuries to be ruled out. I have a sneaking suspicion that we might see a juiced 3. Flup, do you think there's a chance that we're going to see a juiced 3 for the Packers here?
Well, I know you said it in the group chat earlier, and I said no, but after seeing how the market's been, I do think there's a chance that we see a juiced 3. I'm actually with you. I do make this right around 4, but I wouldn't bet the Packers here. Just I don't like to fade this kind of heavy steam this close to game, so I'm not a fan of that. So very interesting to see what's happened. Clearly, a lot of people like the Commanders here.
Well, I'm not a fan of the market because I am maybe the highest guy on the Packers in the market. I will say one thing, though. If you do like the first of all, Judah likes it as a single hammer play, and that's official. And if you do like the over right now, FanDuel has the best price in market. And speaking of FanDuel, they're the ones, sponsoring us, which is awesome. The NFL is back. And if you're betting on FanDuel this season, here's some things to keep in mind. Celebrate your wins. You always got to bank your wins. And if you were watching the if you're watching the stream yesterday, those guys sure celebrated their wins. I wish the Thursday night watch along would have some. Whether you got a same game parlay, 2 legs, 10 legs, just always remember that we get to bet and watch football and have fun and make some money. No kickoff, no problem. Live betting. They got some of the best live betting markets, and they're quick up there. A lot of different options. I know I live bet Jordan Mason overs. I thought he looked better as the running back right away. I like the Caleb Williams rush over. I was betting live. And if you're a new customer, you can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. And now you're ready to play your game on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Visit FanDuel.com/forwardprogress to download the app today and get started. Please play responsibly, must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, 19 plus and physically located in Ontario, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only, $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Call Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 or visit connectsontario.ca. With all that being said, let's get into our next game. LA Rams at Tennessee, and this one looked like the market opened at 5 and it quickly got bet to 6, but there was some resistance and got bet back to 5.5. Right now, you can see the Rams are 5.5 minus 115 at FanDuel, 42.5 to the over, minus 105. I guess I had a couple questions, and I want to start with you, Flep. You see the market resistance. Where do you think this lands? Who do you think is gonna win out here? Do you think it closes on a 6?
I tend to think the Rams side is going to win here. I make this a little bit higher, make this 6.5. And when you have these back and forth, I lean towards the team that is better. And because I think people can just see how bad the Titans were last week, and they'll react to that and say, okay, you know what? They weren't as bad as I first initially thought, et cetera, et cetera. And the Rams are coming off a win. I tend to think that momentum carries forward. The Rams got bet last week. People typically like to bet the same things, especially if they win and it's working. So I would imagine those people that bet Rams last week want to bet the Rams this week. The people that faded the Titans and bet Denver at post last week want to bet Titans this week. So if I had to guess, I would go the Rams would win out. And I think if you can get a cheap 5.5 now, it's probably not the worst idea to make a bet now. But I'm waiting for that. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever get it, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, I make it 6, but I still have not bet it. Jude, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm not going to ask you to tell me who Cam Ward is based on the limited sample size we saw, but I had a question for you. Do you think the Rams defense looked good last week, or do you think it was more a case of the Texans offense maybe not being as good?
Some of the data, the data is very, at least the ones I've looked at, is kind of conflicting in some respects. They had an insane pressure rate, one of the highest in the NFL, and their quick pressure rate and percentage of pressures that were quick pressures were like the highest in the NFL at like 38%, which I think is part their defense being good, and also this Texans offensive line is a complete disaster. But what was a little bit worrying to me, at least on the Rams side, is that they had a 13% perfect coverage rate. That's plays where no coverage player makes a mistake. Base rate of that is also like 40%. That was by far the worst in the NFL. I think it actually may have been the worst performance of any team over the last couple of seasons. So I think that's pretty concerning. I'm not ready to ring the alarm bells here, but definitely a data point that stood out. And I think that's kind of going to be the name of the game here. It's like they're going to live and die by their pass rush.
As far as I can tell, none of us have a play on this game. And you know what? Got to give credit to the decision makers who put us together. Judah, you bring, the data and analysis. Flup, you bring the market recognition, and I'm the one who makes us look good. Let's move on to the next game. Seattle at Pittsburgh. Oh man. First of all, let's take a look at what the market says right now. Jacob, if you can pull up FanDuel's market before we get into that. because I believe if you like Pittsburgh, you're going to want to bet them at FanDuel right now. They've got one of the best prices in market. They're 2.5 minus 120. For myself, I'll be honest with you. I played some Seattle +3 at FanDuel once upon a time, and there are some threes out there. But right now, FanDuel is shaded, and they're sharp on the Pittsburgh line. They're 39.5 minus 105 to the under. And I want to now bring up that graphic, Jacob, because I'm a guy who loves charts. If you give me words to read, they don't do as much as like a nice clean chart where it shows net success rate and Pittsburgh on the right side. So if you can't tell, if the graph goes up, that means you won the game statistically. But if it goes down, you won the game technically, but didn't win the game statistically. And this is that right side of the chart. This is where Mike Tomlin lives. I have said I've been done with the voodoo for years. And no matter what happens, he always gets the play he needs, including like a fumble on a kick return from the New York Jets. I want to start with you, Judah. Which QB are you more optimistic for this year? They're both in new locations. I thought Rodgers' game, like the 4 touchdowns, looked better than they were because I didn't think he was that good. And I thought Darnold, it was a bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were just showing this to make Chris feel the pain doubly.
Yes,
as his Jets. I think you kind of got to be more optimistic about Justin Fields at this point, only because this was like almost a game that I don't think he's ever had of just like he was pressured on 40% of his dropbacks. His pressure to sack rate has been a disaster his entire career, and he did not crumble to the pressure. I think that the Jets are going to be able to do a lot with their run game in this offense and the effect that he's going to have. I just like Aaron Rodgers' day. The conversation looks entirely different if the Jets catch the pick 6 in the 2nd and 15 play. I think Rodgers is exactly who we thought he was, kind of the same quarterback as last year. Fields, don't think he's very good, but at least there's a glimmer of hope here.
I asked you about Sam Darnold, but I'll take the Justin Fields love, especially when we do the Jets game again. Flup, I joked about this when I got on the stream with you before we started. I said, I called you a stale line merchant, my friend. And sure enough, you want to pull the first audible this season because when I said FanDuel best price in market, your ears perked up. Flup, why don't you tell me what your single hammer play is?
Honestly, I want the Steelers -2.5, -120 here. This isn't my bad. I was checking the board earlier before the show, and I was looking at Chris. I have Chris and FanDuel next to each other, and I saw -3, -08, and Chris. I was like, I don't like it. But at -2.5, -120, that is a play I do like. This is very good in market. I personally make the game 3.5, and as Judah was like hinting at, like. Honestly, the Steelers looked good. Like, I know the Jets deserved to win that game. You know, I'm not saying that just as a Jets fan. I'm saying that just looking on the board. I don't care what your reaction is to that year. That is the fact. They did deserve to win that game. But the Steelers didn't play bad. I think if you came in, no matter who you are, you probably were impressed with both teams. You had to have upgraded the Steelers. And honestly, looking at the Seahawks and 49ers, Sam Darnold looks like the Jets Sam Darnold again. He looks bad. As who would have thunk it? Like Sam Darnold, who's been bad his whole career, looks bad still. I want to back the quarterback that has had a history of success, the team that's good, Tomlin, who always pulls out the voodoo. That's who I want to back here, and I can back it at a best in market price when it's good to me as well. This is a single hammer for me.
I love the audible. I make the line 1.5. So Flup, you and I have to get together and figure out why we have such a discrepancy. If this stayed at 3, I was going to give it out. So I had to get off this play. Flup got on this play. Birdie Man says, not only did they cause the fumble, they injured the guy who was supposed to return it in the first play earlier in the game. Double voodoo. Cottage, what does the Toronto Greek Italian G-Stack Pizzola connection see in the Seahawks? I don't like the Seahawks. I just am very down on the Steelers, and I feel like I'm going to be screaming at the clouds all year about how they shouldn't be winning the games that they are. Guys, before we move on to the next game, I want everybody to know we got a daily show, the Hammer Daily. I saw you on there earlier, Flup. You were talking some futures, and I liked some of the angles you were playing on, like second best team in market, some interesting stuff, and we'll get into it. But right now, we talk NFL. It's that's our bread and butter. But we're also talking hockey. We're talking basketball. All those shows are happening on the Hammer Daily, hosted by Jason Cooper. It's on the Hammer HQ YouTube channel, and basically it's Jason with various guests. He's being entertaining. They're being informative, and they give out some actionable stuff. I thought Flup gave some stuff that was worthy of betting today. That's the Hammer Daily, Monday to Friday at noon Eastern time on the Hammer HQ channel. All right, enough of Pittsburgh. Let's move on to the Denver and Indianapolis game, which is quite interesting as far as the price in the market going. Jacob, if you can pull that up for me. I want to take a look at what was happening. And FanDuel, just teasing us, Flup. They're just once upon a time that 2.5 was available before the show, and you and I got off of it for the sake of the show. And all right, Jacob, I hate to do this to you, but I am going to I'm going to make a change here. I am going to give out my double hammer right now on Indianapolis plus 2.5 minus 120. I'm going to be the thing that I accused Flup of. I'm going to be the stale line merchant. I actually make the game Denver minus 0.5. I think the Evan Ingram injury is interesting because even though the Colts don't have the strongest secondary, I don't love their weapons right now outside of Sutton. I thought Bo Nix didn't look quite dynamic. I thought Dre Greenlaw will be interesting. If he still is not a go, I could see Jonathan Taylor having a really good game. And Tyler Warren was like a demon on the field. We might have gotten another superstar tight end. So I'm interested. I actually want to bring up a graphic if you can, Jacob, and I want to ask Judah a question about how Daniel Jones matches up against the Broncos defense. So Daniel Jones, a lot of good metrics. If you see, he's third in passing DYAR, which is a statistic that measures a quarterback's total value by comparing their performance against a replacement level quarterback. He was third in play action per EPA, fifth in pressures, and third in non-blitz EPA per drop back. And then the Broncos were very good on all those marks. Before I ask you the question, where I got this information was FTN. And listen, every bettor talks themselves into picks. They look at data. FTN helps you make a more informed decision. The platform gives you unbiased team and player context, so you are not chasing last week or falling for hype. It keeps your analysis honest, fast, and consistent, which is the real edge over a long season. If you want the kind of discipline in your workflow, start with the Stats Pro or upgrade to Stats GOAT. Use Hammer 10 for 10% off right now. I highly recommend it. I know a lot of our creators use this company for their own bets. Head over to ftnfantasy.com or click the link in the description. Let's start with you, Judah. Colts scored on every single drive, and obviously that maybe is not all about them. It could be a lot about the Miami defense, but Shane Steichen picked Daniel Jones. He believes he can run his offense, and we saw the Shane Steichen genius again, which we haven't seen in a couple years because of what Anthony Richardson maybe didn't allow him to do. How do you think Indy's offense matches up against Denver's defense here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an entirely different beast. We're talking about a Miami defense whose secondary was almost starting the two of us out there. They're a bunch of nobodies. It was a complete disaster. I thought maybe the Miami pass rush would be able to kind of mitigate that. It was very wrong. Denver, on the other hand, they're an absolute force on defense. They led in most basically every statistical category. Now, obviously, that's compounded by the fact that Cam Ward's playing quarterback in a bad situation. But like we've got a strong prior from last season. This is going to be a good Broncos defense. It is very different than the Dolphins here. Obviously, there's some uncertainty here because you don't ever ignore when an offense puts up the kind of the production that they had in 1 week. That isn't to say we're going to make some bets off it, but it's definitely noteworthy. Yeah, I mean, like this is not an apples to apples comparison here. Daniel Jones has historically struggled in all situations where he's had to deal with pressure or disruption, and I am sure he's going to face a lot more of that than he did last week.
Well, listen, if there's one thing that we're good at is a pass rush. All right, Flup, this is actually an anti-Bo Nix play and no potential Evan Ingram. Did you like what you saw from Bo Nix? Because I did not like it at all.
No, I did not like this at all. And I did have a lean that I pivoted off of, but I would have played the under in this game because what I see is people may be thinking that Daniel Jones and with Shane Steichen is going to be somewhat better. I think what Judah said is true. But there's a big difference between the Dolphins defense and the Denver defense. Denver might have the best defense in the NFL right now, so massive upgrade there. And then on Bo Nix, I was not impressed by Bo Nix. I mean, Bo Nix made a lot of mistakes. He looked like he took a step back, in my opinion, watching the Titans game. They should have blown Tennessee out, and they didn't. They kept it close. Not a fan of how he played in week 1. And I don't think he's going to do that much better versus a better Colts defense comparatively to the Titans. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair where both teams are going to struggle.
I'm with you there. I will take the stalest line in market. And I don't know, Cottage, you've just been flattering me with comments since the season started. And that's not the – I don't know if I'm related to you or not, but I appreciate it. Let's move on to the next game. We got to talk about Rob Pizzola's team. We're going to talk about the New York Giants at Dallas. And I guess the one injury we're watching still is Andrew Thomas, who's working his way back from injury. Right now, it's Dallas -5.5, -114 at FanDuel, and they've got it at under 44.5, -108. And if I am correct, if you love Dallas, FanDuel's got a really good price comparative to market. Let's start off with I want to start off with you, Judah. I was trying to go through, and I like to think in like matchup advantages that can be exploited. Are there any matchup advantages the Giants have in this one? Like any angle, either offensively running the ball, throwing the ball, defensively? I was trying to think, and I couldn't come up with one.
Yeah, I think they have two obvious ones, and that is their pass rush against the Cowboys offensive line. The Cowboys offensive line was a train wreck in pass blocking. They had like a 40 offensive line PFF grade. There's way too much talent on this Giants front, and I trust that Pryor a lot more. And on the other side, I mean, it's not really an advantage for the Giants offensive line. I just think that life's going to be a little bit easier against this Dallas pass rush, not to mention that this game, I think, is like, does Russell Wilson hit on the deep balls? I think that he had like a 23% accuracy rate last week. Like, he's not good, but I don't think it's going to be as bad going forward. And this is a Dallas defense, which was atrocious for most of that game on Thursday night. I think life's going to be a little bit easier for the Giants. I actually don't hate the Giants. I wouldn't play it at this price on FanDuel, but I think it's a bit steep right now.
Yeah, I think people might be interested in the 6. The thing I can't get a read on Dallas is how their secondary looks. The Eagles didn't test them with their receivers, so there's still like a lot of like what's going to happen there.
Yeah, it's also kind of an extreme game. They literally did not play a single man coverage snap. I don't anticipate that continuing. That seems like a pretty specific game plan. So we'll see. But that's the name of the game in week 2.
Yeah, Flup, are you reading anything into this game in this market?
At this price, no. I see in the chat some people saying play Giants +6, but that is just not where I make it exactly 6. Russell Wilson did not look good, and I would consider – I know the Cowboys lost their best player in Micah Parsons, but I still think that their defense is better than the Commanders' defense. I'm not that impressed with the Commanders' defense, and if the Cowboys didn't do that good versus them, how do we expect them to do better versus the Cowboys? And the Cowboys did quite well offensively against a good Eagles team. So I think, I don't know how you could want the Giants here. I think it's fair to just pass for me, though.
I'm with Judah, though. I don't know that the Eagles pass rush is as good, and we also didn't see Jalen Carter, so there's a little bit left to be desired.
That's fair.
Flop,
never before has a one-game sample been overturned by what's to come.
Yeah.
Also, like Dak Prescott played probably the best game of his season.
He played it. I mean, without CeeDee Lamb, they're 1-0, and maybe we're talking about a line closer to 7.
The Cowboys receiving core is unbelievable with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, that's a great 1-2 punch. That might arguably be the best 1-2 punch in the league right now. So I just think, why would we think Dak that's his best game? I mean, I think it's going to be, he's only going to get better from here. He's get more time to use them, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't think I heard either of us say best game.
I did. I said it is. Well,
you think
5 big time throws and like a a 90 grade. And certainly I don't think he's going to have as much time from a clean pocket. It's certainly possible. I think we need to recognize that was like a 90th percentile game for him.
Sam Hoppin says, "Did you forget about Jamar Chase and T Higgins?"
Okay.
No, Flip. Don't get. I want the chat to spam with better wide receiver duos than CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Sam put together that graphic that I love referencing. I am really, really interested in watching this game. Flip, we're a lot closer with our numbers there. I don't know what happened in Pittsburgh and the Seattle game. You know when someone forgets one key ingredient in a meal and it throws off the taste of everything. One of us missed an ingredient in that Seattle-Pittsburgh game. Let's move on to Buffalo and the Jets because if I am correct, there's a lot of love for this game. Quite interesting to watch what the market is saying. Right now, the only real injury I'm watching for is Tre'Davious White, who also didn't play for Buffalo last week. And if we can pull up, Jacob, the market in Buffalo and the Jets so I can take a look at what's going on there. That is Miami, Buffalo. That beating isn't coming until week 3, Jacob. That's our Thursday night football game where we're going to take a beating. FanDuel likes to give you the next week in advance. Before Jacob pulls up that line, though, I want to say this isn't the only best bet show. The B team goes off on Thursday. Everyone knows this is the premium show, but a close second is the Thursday show. Rob Pizzola hosts. Suma and Austin Mock join him. They go game by game as well. That's on Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Forward Progress YouTube channel. Jacob, let's take a look at the Buffalo Jets game in market because if you do like the Jets, there's nowhere else to bet them but FanDuel. Right now, the Jets are getting +7, -115. The over-under is 45.5, and everywhere else is 6.5. So a lot of love for the Jets, I guess. Well, you both have something on it. We'll start off with, let's see who has, it's someone's triple hammer. Flup, lead the way here.
I really like the Jets +7 here. You're getting a best in market price. And I was quite impressed with how the Jets did on week 1 versus Pittsburgh. I thought, Judah already touched on this earlier, but I thought Justin Fields looked really good. When I say really good, I mean compared to what my expectations were. My expectations were me wondering if Justin Fields is a top 32 quarterback. And now my question is he closer to average or number 24 based on how he played? I think the whole game looked really good. Breece Hall looked really, really good as well. And I see Rob in the chat. This is not a homer bet. This is actually good. I personally make this game 5.5. Look, the Bills just feel like they won their own Super Bowl last week. They're coming off of a high. The Jets feel disappointed. They're going to want to come back and make it right. And just before this seems like, are we reacting at all to how the Jets played? I mean, this seems like what this would have been if the Jets played an average game. Just played a top 10% game, and we're still getting a 7. That's ridiculous in my opinion. This is an easy bet for me as the Jets.
I would say, Flup, lean into it, man. The Jets had the 3rd best yards per play offensively. Buffalo had the worst. They got torched for like 8.6 yards per play. It felt like, Judah, correct me if I'm wrong, like every Baltimore receiver looked open and none of the Buffalo Bills defense could tackle. Like there was a lot to not like about Buffalo's defense. You also like the Jets in this game. What is it, a double hammer for you?
Yeah, double hammer for me. I like Chris's analysis of just like use week 1, automatically projected onto week 2, and the Bills won their Super Bowl already, so we got full on narrative street there. No, in all seriousness, I think Flup is right that you have to upgrade this Jets offense. I'm not going to say not entertaining the possibility of like 32-16 in our quarterback rankings, but I do think like this is going to be a good Pittsburgh defense, averaging. Being top 3 in yards per play is something that is legitimate here. And I also would kind of look to the flip side of the ball, and like the Bills defense has been a bottom 5 unit dating back to the end of last year. I don't think I'm getting accused of a lot of play stealing here. I'm pretty sure my play may have made it into the sheet before Fluff, but that's okay. As long as it's not Steve Fezzik, I'll promise to be extremely angry as I give this presentation.
Well, I would never want to tell Judah anyway because I don't want to lose money. I want to win money.
Right, exactly. That's exactly it.
Judah, we're gonna go to instant replay to see who put it in first. One of you immediately clicked it after. I was gonna make this play my single play, but I said if we all lined up on one game, then we'd rob the public of 2 bets. I like the Jets. I was the highest when we did the season preview show. I had the highest win total on them from all the Hammer creators. I had them at 6.9 wins. I like O-lines, and I thought the Jets had invested heavily in the O-line with the last 2 years going with first-round offensive tackles. That being said, for the content, I said, let me just not put the Jets since you guys both have it in and you guys were in first, and I felt like then I'd be really hopping on board. Let's check the logs, George. Yeah, you know what? I am going to check the logs here. Someone's got to get credit as a play stealer. I think it was Flup was in first too.
A classic play stealing Judah. I mean,
that's classic play stealing.
If you know anything about me, it's that I'm a steam chasing play stealer. Look, I'm guilty as charged.
Judah is getting a reputation for himself. Let's move on to Cleveland and Baltimore, 2 teams that probably should be 1-0 because it looked like they outplayed their opponents and should have won, and they both ended up losing. I'm going to be interested to see that, but what the market says right now, the injury we're really watching. I mean, Baltimore, Isaiah Likely still working his way back, but really Jack Conklin is the play we're looking at. If we can pull up the market, it was interesting. Confirmed Flup got it first. Whew. That's Judah. That's bad. That is bad.
It's bad news.
Flup, we're gonna wait for
I'm
him.
gonna blame the fact that I did this on the subway, but even still, this is not good for the reputation.
Flup, next week we're gonna wait for Judah to get his plays in first so that he can't piggyback off of us experts over here. Let's pull up the line on Cleveland, Baltimore. It's interesting. Right now it's at 11.5 minus 105 FanDuel. I see some 10.5 out there. I actually don't know which way the market goes. I know Rob and Clive were saying maybe closer to 13. My numbers don't bear that out, but I'm always worried about when it's like big spreads, where you fine tune the number. Flup, let's ask you a market question. Where do you think it goes?
So I think typically when we see it open high, get bet down, and then get back, it kind of stays somewhere in the middle. So I think it stays, it bounces between 10.5 and 11.5. And I think on close, you will be able to get some 10.5s and some 11.5s all throughout the week. And so the answer is really like 11, I guess, is where it's going to close. I would be shocked if it broke 10, and I would be shocked if we saw like a 13.5. I mean, 12.5 is 12 is kind of a dead number. So I would be shocked if we see a 13 at all. But 10.5 to 11 is kind of dead anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. Well, you just shop around and get the best price, which depending on which side you like. I make it personally 11.
Judah, I'm not going to ask you why Baltimore always does this and blows leads that seem insurmountable, because I think that narrative is out. I actually want to ask you a question. Cleveland has reputationally been like a top 5 defense for years. This was the first year heading into the season where I didn't hear that conversation at all. They weren't being discussed like that. I'm pretty sure if we pulled up the Hammers like consensus top 10 defenses, they were not in the top 5. Judah, like the numbers against Cincy were unbelievable. Cincy had like the second worst yards per play. Joe Burrow did not throw the ball well. Jamar Chase single-handedly cost a lot of people in fantasy this week if you play that. And anybody who had Cincinnati's probably has used all their luck up for Survivor this year. Was Cleveland's defense underrated?
Probably. I mean, I think they had an awesome 2023 or 2025 now. Yeah, 2023 were pretty bad last year. I mean, there were a lot of injuries there. Yeah, maybe they're somewhat underrated. I mean, I think the offense is still like, let's be real about who Joe Flacco is. It's not a great quarterback. But yeah, like you got to in some ways update, and also like the Bengals have struggled every single week one of the Joe Burrow era. That's like not to be totally discounted. There's likely more signal in struggling in week 1 than any other random week. They've also always played the Browns have always played the Bengals well. There's like some scheme consistency here. So I don't really know exactly what to make of it. Are they underrated? Maybe a little bit, but certainly not enough for me to be making any bets.
Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm not quite interested in this game. I still can never tell with Baltimore. I feel like they can blow out everybody, but they can also like keep everybody too close and lose. Let's move on to Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Not much in the way of injuries. The the Jaguars are missing Monteric Brown last week. Maybe he's back. Lucas Patrick and Logan Wilson got hurt for the Bengals. We'll see how the practice reports come out. Right now, Cincinnati's -3.5, -106. The over-under is 49.5, -106 as well, if you like the under. And I'm going to ask you a question first, Judah. Jacksonville, there's a lot of questions about their O-line and how it's going to perform. And the reason I was bullish on them last week, I said Carolina can't exactly expose that. I also feel that might also apply here. The Jacksonville's vulnerabilities, Cincinnati's not the team that can exploit them. Is that a fair statement?
I mean, yes and no. I think their pass rush might be a little bit better than anticipated, and like Trey Hendrickson can still be an absolute game wrecker, and that alone can be enough. But yeah, I don't think this is a good defense at all. I think it's a question of like, is Trevor Lawrence going to play well or not? He was not good in week 1. It didn't matter. And your offense is only going to go so far as your quarterback. But I agree with your sentiment that on the whole, I don't think this is a Cincinnati defense that's going to take Lawrence out of anything that he needs to do.
Flup, is interesting. Everybody's narrative for like the month before the week 1 was like, oh, Cincinnati, they start off slow, avoid them in Survivor. Joe Burrow's 1-4 in week 1. And then, like, sure enough, he played like awful and it came through. What do you make of Cincinnati and their early struggles?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Bengals tried to give that game away like multiple times, but the Browns kept saying, no, thank you. We want to lose. No, thank you. This has happened every year. I'm more inclined to chalk it up to this is just who the Bengals are. I kind of have to buy into these narratives because every year they start off slow, and then by midseason, the Bengals look like a playoff contender or a Super Bowl contender. So I don't really buy into it too much. You have to downgrade them, and I did downgrade them a smidge, but I make the game like 3.75. So I really wouldn't bet either side at market here. I would lean slightly towards the Bengals side, but like I wouldn't want to play it in either case.
If you see a 3 -110 on game day, would you bet on Cincy?
-3, -110?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. I would bet that.
All right. I'm going to, right here, first time ever, Judah, you are not the only one who steals plays from Fez. This is going to be a Hammer and Steve Fezzik collaboration, G-Stack and Fezzik. I make the line 2.9. I'm getting the better side of 3. Jacksonville +3.5, -114 is my triple hammer. Me and Steve are cashing this winner in the bank, baby. Thank you, Steve, for your inspiration on this play. You led me right to the water, baby. Let's move on to San Francisco and New Orleans. I'm going to start with Flup, and we'll open up and talk about the market because this is like a pure market question. Right now, San Fran is -4.5, -115, and the over-under is 42.5, -115 to the over. This line opened 6.5, which was already depressed based on the factoring in of Kittle and Juwan Jennings. We had a pretty good idea that Kittle was at least going to miss. And then we get the Brock Purdy news out of nowhere. He's got 2 injuries. The line shoots down to 4.5. And then we're in this weird spot, Flup, where it's like, now we wait for the Purdy news. And obviously, if Purdy's back in, the line goes back up. And if Purdy's out, that line's going to go down. I guess I want you to take a stab at where you think both markets go based on the Purdy news.
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. If Purdy's ruled in, this is going to 6, and the total's going over. Like it's going to back to 43.5, potentially even we'll see a 44. And if he's ruled out, this might get down to 3. I mean, maybe even under 3. I don't know how much. They're already factoring in a little bit here. So this will never close 4.5, in my opinion. Now I say that, and now it's going to close 4.5, and Purdy's going to play. I'm going to feel like an idiot. But I would be shocked if this is just. Do you think Purdy's going to play? And then if he does play, how injured do you think he is? Kind of question.
Well, that's my question because oftentimes there's been value of like he gets ruled in, but his play is not as good. And would you rather he's in and bet against it, or he's out and you get to bet Mac Jones at a really good number?
I would rather bet him out and bet Mac Jones then he's ruled in, and then bet San Fran at that price. I would right now, if you pull a gun to my head, I would bet San Fran because I think Purdy will be in, but I wouldn't I'm not confident enough to make this a play or anything like that.
Flop, I'm not putting any guns to your head. I don't think Judah is anyways. Judah, can I ask you a couple questions? Because I think not a lot's being made of maybe the New Orleans injuries. Talies Fuaga, who left the game. Trevor Penning didn't play as well. Chase Young was out, although they had 5 sacks, and I don't know if that's an Arizona stat as opposed to a New Orleans defensive line stat. How much of a drop is Mac Jones? Because remember, the talk of the draft was Kyle Shanahan wants to move up for Mac Jones. This is the type of quarterback that can run his offense. Do you think Mac Jones is capable enough to get a win here? And if you see a 3 show up with San Francisco, would you be interested with a Mac Jones led quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, capable enough to get a win, sure. New Orleans is not exactly the team that's threatening the Niners here, and I think you just have such a high base rate of success with Shanahan that isn't to say it's automatic. Yeah, I think I would probably bet a 3 here, especially given the injuries on the Saints side of things. They just Spencer Rattler played by his standards a terrific game. I don't anticipate that continuing. I think that there's just such a gulf of a gap between these two teams fundamentally, even with all the Niners injuries.
I don't think any of us are going to touch this game until we, get the news. Rob, he hates to say it, this show is actually good. Might replace another one of his favorite listenings that a few of us like to listen. This isn't the only good show. I don't know if you guys know, but on Thursdays we do a watch along, and they got to christen in the new studio, and I was a little jealous. I can't wait to do it this Thursday because myself and Alex Moretto will be there. We got a ton of guests booked. Hitman comes in for the fourth quarter to sweat his bets. And speaking of best bets, before the game starts, we're going to give away our best bets and build an SGP. And, after Rob went 42 for 43 yesterday, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. So I'm going to get myself in the lab right now so that I'm ready for Thursday's watch along, and we can have some bangers. It all starts 8 p.m. Eastern Thursday. Watch along, myself, Alex Moretto, on the Forward Progress YouTube channel. San Francisco, New Orleans, we didn't have any opinions on them, but this is quite interesting. Judah, I'm gonna let you lead off here, but New England, Miami is quite the game. It's -1.5, -106, and right now the injuries to watch: Christian Gonzalez, who didn't play last week. We wonder if he will come back this week, but let's just say the Dolphins are, already bad on the goal line, and now we learn James Daniels is going to miss weeks. Austin Jackson left the game; he may not play. Storm Duck's going to be out for weeks. Darren Waller, if he gets us 5 games this year, I'll be surprised. Let's start off, Judah. What do you think of this game and how they match up? Because I got a feeling you got a bet here.
Yeah, got a feeling you got the sheet. This is my my triple hammer here. The price has moved a little bit. I still do like it at +100. This is just a Dolphins defense that kind of, as we mentioned earlier, is just a complete disaster right now. Their secondary is in absolute shambles, and just the offense, Tua Tagovailoa, I don't think has been the same quarterback really since the latest round of concussion. And even the depth of this team, if Tyreek Hill has taken a step back or if he's quit on the team or whatever narrative, they have no depth at receiver. As you mentioned, the offensive line's a complete train wreck. I don't see let me say it this way. I can see this as a spot where we look back and the Dolphins are the worst team in the NFL. Am I saying that's the most likely scenario? No. Do I think that's firmly in play? Absolutely.
Just a stab to the heart. First you're, fading the Green Bay Packers. Now it's the Dolphins. You don't see all this Dolphins merch in my background. Flup, these two teams performed very bad compared to market expectations in week 1. Are you surprised the market hasn't over-adjusted to how bad Miami played? Or is it a case of New England left a lot to be imagined as well, especially defensively?
I think certain members on this panel are overreacting to how bad Dolphins played here. I don't know how you could bet the Patriots. They didn't look that great. Drake May didn't look that great versus versus the Raiders. I mean, they let Geno Smith like throw for over 300 yards. Like, what are we doing here? And you get the Dolphins at home, and you're taking you say the Patriots are more than 50% to win. This seems ridiculous, in my opinion. This is a massive overreaction. Yes, I would downgrade the Dolphins. Absolutely, I'm downgrading the Dolphins. But I would also downgrade the Patriots. And not nearly as much as I would downgrade the Dolphins, but I would still make the Dolphins a small favorite here. I'm not taking the Patriots at plus 100. So to me, if you forced me to bet, I would actually bet the Dolphins here. So I'm a little shocked and I think this is an overreaction. This was
I love it.
Is this an overreaction to the game or the fact that the Dolphins have no players on their roster because everyone's hurt?
Both. I mean, both.
Who was playing offensive line? Who was playing in the secondary?
Well, I mean, I guess
no one. It's just like it is weak links up everything, and like sure the Patriots disappointed, and like Mike Vrabel made some egregious coaching decisions, but like the Dolphins roster right now is horrific. Like they're just the gap between the guys that they had who weren't good in the first place and the like their backups, right? Storm Duck is like not an NFL cornerback, and he was their number one cornerback. This is like a 7. There's no one. Like Daniel Jones looked like prime Peyton Manning.
Well,
yeah.
Whoa, you were throwing around words like worst team in the league here. All right, so let's
at this current roster. Yes, it would not be surprising.
I actually do agree with Judah on that. That it would not surprise me as well that the Dolphins do it, but it's still. They're still playing. They're also, you know who they're playing? They're playing.
Make up your mind, Flup. You can't say you're betting Miami here and
no.
You wouldn't be surprised if they're the worst right
No. But I'm saying it's like it wouldn't surprise. But Judah acts like the Patriots are like above average team. I mean, the Patriots are also bottom. They're also bottom five.
I like one of my main plays last week was like a Geno Smith passing also like Christian Gonzalez might be back. I think that's huge. But like the Miami defense can't take advantage of Miami offense. Excuse me, can't take advantage of anything right now.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we'll call it there
because so limited on offense. You have to get the ball out in like 2 seconds, and then even when Tua was not pressured, he was horrific.
Well, I question if the Patriots have a dominant pass rush, but listen, we're going to call it there because in the Thursday Best Bet show, they are laughing at the fact that we're all fighting each other here. Ekshes says that this will close pick. It could even close Patriots favorites, but I think maybe -1 tops. We'll call it there. Let's move on to a more exciting game. How about a Super Bowl rematch? Philadelphia and Kansas City, and the Thursday and Friday games. I haven't seen either of these teams. It's been like 9-10 days since we've seen these teams play, or at least when they finally get to play. Right now, Philly's -1.5, -102. Over under 46.5, -112 to the over. I guess the injuries to watch. I saw Landon Dickerson left the game, and I'm not quite sure if he's going to play. I'm interested to see the injury report. He was already making his way back from an injury. The real injury is Xavier Worthy. I don't know if they're going to put him in a harness. I doubt that he plays. Let's start off with Judah. I want to ask you about Philly's offense because we talked about the questionable play calling. Like they ran no play action. They didn't throw anything to their receivers. Everything was like underneath the tight ends and running backs. And we saw it 2 years ago when they lost their offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen. They took a drop. They've lost Kellen Moore, and we don't know what this new offensive coordinator will look like. Do you just need to see more data points before you can make a true judgment of this Philly offense? Because they beat Dallas on talent last week, not by scheme.
Yeah, I mean, what's new? Like this has been the Eagles' offense for a bunch of years. Like I'm not gonna read a ton into this at all. And like this could look entirely different in week 2. And in fact, like for all we know, they like decided they can win this game without revealing any information here. I have no idea. I'm not in the coaching room, but I don't think what you've presented is new. And like the fundamentals are still going to be there. They still have like 2 incredible tackles. They still have 2 incredible receivers. It works with Jalen Hurts that has such a high floor of success. And right now the Kansas City pass defense has been pretty bad, I think, for since like week 6 or 7 of last season. They've got a lot of problems. I guess I like the Eagles here if I had to choose.
Yeah, me too. I would not that I'm betting them, but Flup, you actually were on the Hammer Daily and talking about maybe this is the year the Chargers could win the division. I'm just going to assume that that's not just because you're like sky high on LAC. You probably think the Chiefs picked a bad time of the schedule to lose all their receivers. Like their first 6 weeks is brutal. And is that part of it? Like you just think maybe they're a little bit vulnerable right now?
Absolutely. I mean, having no Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy is very annoying, especially with Travis Kelce. You know, he's not focused on Taylor Swift now, not really focused on football anymore. So I'm really worried. But then again, what does Patrick Mahomes do? He scrambles and he creates. You know, Judah should know that he's one of the best creators in the league has ever seen. And I think he can create enough for even shitty wide receivers to get open and, you know, make some plays for them. Making Philly a favorite here seems a bit much to me. Like, I will probably be playing. I think based on the way this is going, we will see KC plus 1.5, which will make an excellent teaser leg. But on top of that, I will be playing Kansas City at like plus 105, plus 110 when it gets there, and because I do think it will close. Philly minus 1.5 ish. So this just seems a bit much for me. Like you get KC home field advantage. The Chiefs need this. Starting 0-2 is kind of gross. And this maybe doesn't matter too much, but Reed did get 2 extra days to game plan. Yes, I know that the Eagles did as well, but that matters to me a lot more for Reed than it does for Nick Sirianni, who I think is kind of an idiot, or Reed is a very sharp coach, in my opinion.
You also missed the important factor. You know, they played in Brazil, and Taylor Swift's not going to be going to Brazil for a football game after Mekhi Becton ate rice and beans, and he was like, in all kinds of bad places. If Taylor Swift's in the house, that's at least worth a 1.5 point bump, right?
I see in the chat this ridiculous statement. There's no unit in this game that is better on KC than Philly. Did he forget that the quarterback unit, like the quarterbacks on, like I guess,
yeah, just the most important, and the coaching. Like there's the two most critical aspects of the game. Yeah. Let's move on to Carolina, Arizona. I'll give a sidebar before I get into the line. I'm happy that I got Arizona through as a survivor because they didn't look good, and I don't know, other than here, if there's many more spots for them. Right now, the line is Arizona minus 6.5, minus 115. The over-under is 43.5, minus 102 if you like the under. The injuries, we're watching Arizona. Zaven Collins off the edge didn't play, and neither did Will Hernandez, and neither did Ike Ekwonu for the Carolina Panthers. I guess that's the one we're really watching for. Let's start off with you, Flup, because you have a play on this game. What are your thoughts about this game?
I kind of agree with you exactly, G-Stack. Like, how do we watch the Cardinals and go, oh, yeah, the Cardinals, they're good here? The Saints are horrible, and they barely beat the Saints. I mean, they let the Saints in that game for so long. And, yes, Bryce Young, he looked like the shitty Bryce Young that he was. He didn't look like the last 8 weeks of last year Bryce Young that was good. But still, you're giving me a cheap 6.5. I have to play the Panthers plus 6.5, minus 0.5 here. Like, that seems ridiculous. I personally, I'm checking the sheet now, I make it 5.5. I'm not saying, like, you know, this should be like 4 or something crazy here. But the Cardinals, to me, are not that impressive. They didn't look good. I downgraded them. Yeah, I downgraded the Panthers too. But this was 4.5 before week 1 played, and now we're getting basically 2.25 extra points. Give me the Panthers all day here.
Yeah, from a market perspective, I also make it 5 or 5.5 if Ike Ekwonu doesn't play. I want to get on Carolina here. I was going to put them on my list, but I said for the sake of content, I didn't want to double up with Flup. I guess you guys missed the memo on the Jets. Judah, I actually want to ask you a question about Arizona because I said they got
play, so it's no fault of him.
They got sacked 5 times. They had like one deep shot to Marvin Harrison, and like nothing else was good about the Arizona offense, or even look like a meticulous offense that moves the ball well. Like a lot of even like the 3rd and 10s, they were throwing 5-yard plays to Trey McBride, and he was like muscling his way to the first down. Why are we doing this story every year with Arizona, where we keep looking at like the potential and the pedigree of the names, and yet they never look like a great offense?
Yeah, I mean, and like, I think it depends, right? Like there have been plenty of patches where they've been good. I think Kyler Murray scrambling was terrible last week. And I'm not sure that's going to repeat itself, both because I think that could be a stylistic change, and also like that variance happens. But he was holding the ball in the pocket for a ton of time. I think like his time to throw after pressure arrived was like 2.7 seconds. And like that's a major outlier. I'm not making too much of the 5 sacks. And like, yes, it was obviously a disappointing performance. I haven't updated too strongly on the Panthers or Cardinals for that matter.
Yeah, neither. I haven't over-adjusted, so I don't want to make it seem like this is a change. I just actually think the numbers are a lot closer. I think the market got soured on how bad Carolina looked, and I think the market. Listen, they looked awful, and I bet against them, and I'm like, but that being said, I did it because I'm high on Jacksonville. They were in my circa pick last week. I bet them again this week as my triple hammer. I'm just high on the Liam Cohen Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's move on to the Atlanta at Minnesota Sunday night football game. We got 3 primetime games a Sunday and then 2 Mondays, but right now it's 4.5 minus 110 Minnesota, 45.5, 104 to the over if you like the over. The real story here is the injuries for Atlanta. We're watching for Drake London and Darnell Mooney, who didn't play last week. Drake London left the game, and I think it's some sort of sprain, and they're trying to figure out if he's going to play. For Minnesota last week, Harrison Smith missed with an illness, and usually illnesses don't last multiple weeks, but Christian Darrisaw is still the big one, their left tackle. All right, where do we start here, Judah? Because I feel like Atlanta should have won the game.
Yeah, I mean, they could have gone in many directions. Penix kind of had a miracle touchdown there. They also just like let Tampa Bay march right down the field, and then obviously Younghoe Koo missing a 42-yard field goal. I mean, where do we start here? I think we start with the fact that like Atlanta basically just like did not throw on early downs, and they insisted on running Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier for 2 yards per carry, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
And like this is my least favorite activity, is just like playing the game of guessing how often the offensive coordinator is going to decide to run or pass. And I think this is true on both sides. Like I have a ton of trust in Kevin O'Connell. I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the better coaches, at least from a schematic perspective. Made some pretty bad time management decisions in the end of the first half there, but notwithstanding that, like I hate the game of like how often is this team going to run? How often is this team going to pass? Are they going to be optimal in doing that? So I'm staying away, and I think that's where the analysis for this game really.
I saw the same with Minnesota. Like they looked like they had complete training wheels on, and they changed it.
8 passes in the first half.
Yeah,
they just
basically we have 5 starts combined of sample size. And I'm not like making any declarative positions right now when I don't know enough. I'm not one of those people, who is so certain on a guy who they've never seen. I always leave a lot of room to learn. Flup, the market's at 4.5. Where does it go if Drake London and Darnell Mooney are both ruled out? Do you think it moves in Minnesota's favor, or do you think right now they're factoring in that it's likely London is out and Mooney is a 50-50 shot?
Well, the market action kind of tells me that people think that they're gonna play. So if I had to guess, if they're ruled out, this Vikings get bet even more here. Personally, though, I make it assuming that I make it 4. So I would actually lean Atlanta here, and if they're both ruled in, I could see this going down to 4 or even 3.5. I would not be surprised to see. Look. I never understood the Vikings hype. I understood the Vikings hype, but I thought they got way overhyped. Like, we have certain members of the Hammer Network acting as if J.J. McCarthy should be priced as a top 5 quarterback in this league. That's a bit ridiculous in my opinion. He's effectively a rookie. Yes, he has Justin Jefferson, and yes, he has Kevin O'Connell. But I mean, come on now. Like, he's still a rookie quarterback. We've never seen anything from him to prove that he should be priced as this elite quarterback. And yes, I love Flores. He's my favorite defensive play caller in the league. But still, the roster isn't that elite. And when you compare it to Atlanta, I just don't see that much of a difference. Michael Penix, I know, Judah loves him so much. I think Judah's right here. Penix has been pretty good. He didn't look that bad in week 1. So this just, if I wouldn't bet it at this number, but I would lean towards Atlanta here.
You want to touch the roster as a comparative? Because I think there's a lot more certainty on Minnesota's defense than Atlanta's.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
well,
that's where I think the gap is in these two teams.
Well, that to me is more of just a reflection of Flores, because
So
Flores
what? Is Flores not going to be the defensive coordinator anymore?
No.
Are we playing like a Madden sim?
No. I understand that. But I'm just saying, like, if we swapped Flores and we put him on the Falcons, like, this line should be like 2.5.
I agree, but that's irrelevant because Brian Flores is not being swapped. So we got to look at the pieces, who they are, and there's a big talent gap on defense right now, accounting for the fact that Brian Flores is a defensive coordinator for the Vikings.
Yeah, Flip, if you put Patrick Mahomes on the Dolphins instead of Tua, 1.5's the best bet of all time this week.
But I meant when I said roster, I meant players. I didn't mean.
But the point is, why does that matter? Like, who cares if, like, the players are not isolated from their defensive coordinator?
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Let's move on to the first of two Monday nighters. Tampa Bay at Houston, and this one's actually interesting in market right now. It's -2.5, -120 for Houston, under 42.5, -105. I also want to pull up a graphic, and I want to ask Judah a question about Houston and how they match up. Basically, CJ Stroud has a tough O-line. He hangs on to the ball, and Tampa Bay loves to blitz and pressure the quarterback. And I actually have a question. Judah, I look at Houston's offense, and that graphic is courtesy of our friends at FTN, which we appreciate it. Judah, I have a question about Houston's offense. I said, first of all, they've got injuries. Jake Andrews, their center, is going to be out. Ed Ingram didn't play last week, and I'm curious to see if he plays this week. They already had a bad O-line. They have injuries, and there's only one player that scares you on that offense. It's Nico Collins. Like, all the other passing options, there's no burst, there's no speed. There's nothing dynamic about them. The run game, there's nothing dynamic. It feels like it's one of the easiest offenses to game plan against. Is that a fair statement?
Sure. I mean, like, I don't think we have enough data on the offensive coordinator to kind of know on the game plan specific. But yes, in terms of, like, the actual talent, totally agree. Like, this is going to be a disaster of an offensive line. It was the end of last season. At least till Christian Kirk comes back, they really have, like, or someone else emerges. They're just relying on CJ Stroud to kind of play hero ball, and he came pretty close.
I have a question, Flip. I like Tampa Bay here. I make it Houston 1.5. I couldn't, in good conscience, give out Tampa Bay +2.5, especially because there are some threes in market, although they are getting gobbled up, and I really want the 3, but I like Tampa. I think they're going to win this game. I think 3 would be a really generous number. Do you just see Tampa Bay action here? I can't find a lot of people that will want to back Houston in this spot.
I could not agree more with you. I make this 1, but I couldn't give it out based on the numbers here. There was better available, and I see one-way action on Tampa Bay all week. I would be shocked if anyone bites the bullet and bets back on Houston here. Why would you want to back Houston? They looked horrible. In my opinion, the Bucs have the better quarterback with Baker Mayfield. I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan. I think he's mightily improved over the last couple of years. And their offense looked good, and the Houston offense did not look good. So that I just see one-way action straight down. I would not be surprised if this closes 1.5. Or even at 1 would not shock me.
If you can get some 3s out there, we recommend.
Absolutely.
We recommend taking them. Let's move on to the last game of the week. And first of all, in the comments, if you haven't liked yet, please like the video. We work hard for you, and all this stuff helps us in the algorithm. If you're enjoying the content, spam some 1s in the chat for Flup and Judah. And they agree too much on the Thursday show. They don't want to step on each other's toes, and we like to mix it up here. Like, there's more camaraderie when you're unafraid to mix it up, and still shake hands at the end of the day. Let's move on to the last game of the week. LA Chargers at Las Vegas. Monday Night Football. quite interesting. Right now, Chargers are -3, -120. That's about where the market is. Everything's between 3 and 3.5, 46.5, 115 to the over. I want to start with you, Judah, and I don't want you to guess on if this pass first approach by the Chargers is going to be their new mentality. But if it is, are the Chargers a significantly more dynamic, scary offense than we were expecting, as opposed to like that boring run Justin Herbert bailout on third down?
Yeah, I mean, you answered your question and asking it. Like, yeah, boring run defense is not run offense is not exactly a recipe for success in the NFL, of course. I think like if they let Herbert unleash it, I mean, the real question to me is like, can Quentin Johnson actually serve as a serviceable wide receiver too? I think Ladd McConkey, by all indications, is going to be a stud. If they let Herbert rip it, if he's healthy, like this could be a much more dynamic offense than kind of the boring Chargers teams we're used to that have handicapped a lot of Herbert.
Well, I'm going to fire a question at both of you because I think Las Vegas. I watched the game and then I looked at the numbers and I was shocked by the numbers because I didn't feel like Las Vegas had this perfectly amazing offensive game. I thought they had spurts where they were really good and a lot of bad drives. But like I'm looking and they had 55.3% drop back success rate. They had 6.3 yards per play offensively. Was the Raiders offense good and I didn't see it?
Yeah, I mean I don't think pass for 365 yards accidentally. So yes, I think they had a pretty good offensive day. But I don't know. Again, like there's a range of outcomes. They hit on the kind of right side of those outcomes. In addition to the fact that like certainly without Christian Gonzalez, I don't think this is a good Patriots secondary. So I'm not reacting as strongly to Vegas. I think this was a pretty good setup for them last week. But 365 yards. It's not for nothing.
Flip, what about you? What are you looking at this game from a market perspective? And did you upgrade either team?
I upgraded the Chargers mightily. But that being said, I am a little scared that the Chargers think they need to pass versus the Chiefs because it's Patrick Mahomes, and they think they don't need to pass versus the Raiders because it's Geno Smith. And then we go back into the running on early downs and the same old Chargers, and then we have a problem again. So if that happens, people are going to be thinking, wow, I cannot believe I got like cheap threes or expensive 3.5s here with the Raiders. And I think for the market, I think we're going to see people are going to want to buy the Raiders at 3.5, and they're going to want to buy the Chargers at 3. So I think it's just going to bounce in between. I would be shocked if one side breaks in either case. Personally, I make this about 2.75, and I would bet the Raiders here. Even though I'm upgrading the Chargers here, I didn't think the Raiders did that bad, and I kind of get where Jude is coming from, but I still think passing for 360 yards has enough signal for me that, hey, maybe I was wrong. I didn't think the Raiders' offense would be that good, but, Rob and everyone else was saying that they were going to be good all year, so maybe I was wrong and they were right here. But I will say, as an aside, I might have been right about Ashton Genty because 19 carries for 38 yards, not good. And he was going before Derrick Henry in fantasy football. That was just ridiculous. All right. Sorry about that.
No. I love the insights. I'm going to say something. There are certain coaches that elevate talent. It's that Mike Vrabel, Mike Tomlin mold that always like outperform expectations because they just raise the floor of everybody. Jim Harbaugh not only does it, but I also think he has a way higher ceiling than those coaches. I thought he was the fourth best coach, and I'm thinking I'm a little bit low. I'm a Jim Harbaugh mark. I think he's an amazing coach. It's incredible what he's done for the LA Chargers. I'm waiting for a -3, -110, but I would bet it at -3, -120. That's out there in FanDuel. It's going to be my single hammer, my last play, so that we can complete the board. Give me the LA Chargers. I am with you, Flip. I highly upgraded them after last week. If they stick with this pass first mentality, I think this could be a dynamic offense, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I also think, even though I believe the Chargers have vulnerabilities in their secondary when they face a really good pass attack, it will be exposed. I don't know that the Raiders have are really good. Like I like Derwin James on Brock Bowers as much as anybody could like somebody on Brock Bowers. And I don't love the Raiders receivers to expose the Chargers here. So I think it's a good matchup, even though my numbers think 3 is pretty clean. I'm making a gut check here on thinking that the Chargers are a better matchup against the Raiders. I think that completes it. I actually, Jacob, if you have a graphic, I would love to see recap exactly what plays we're all on. And the audience has been really great. And honestly, I enjoyed going through all these games and getting our feet wet again. I'd love to see what everybody chose. Oh, Judah, did you have a retort to what I said?
No retort. I guess a retort to someone. I think upon further review, Fluff smiles more than I do. I mean, look, that's when he's talking, there's only so much information you can gather from. I was very focused on the smile to talk ratio. I think he smiles more than me.
This is a smiley show, isn't it?
Sorry, I'm a happy guy. What can I say? Life is good.
We need next week. We got to practice our scowl. We got to beat up the bookies. We got to come in with our mean face. Jacob, let's pull up the recap of everybody's top plays. All right, triple hammers. I've got Jacksonville plus 3.5 minus 114. I backed them last week. I'm going to back them this week. I'm going to back them every week until I lose. Flup, Jets, New York Jets plus 7 minus 115 is his triple hammer. Judah sticking the knife in me. New England money line plus 100. Double hammers. I got Indy plus 2.5 minus 120. Flub's got Carolina plus 6.5 minus 105. Judah's got New York Jets plus 7 minus 115. And single hammers, LA Chargers minus 3 minus 120. Pittsburgh minus 2.5 minus 120. And Washington plus 3.5 minus 115. Guys, my goal is we got to come back at least 6-3. Like next Tuesday, I want to start with our picks and just
can we do
really parade our results around.
Can I make all my plays leans so they count if they win, but they don't count if they lose? That's how they work. So I'd really prefer that. That'll help boost the record.
No, absolutely not. You are locked in. We are forced bets over here. I'm glad to do this for the first time. I really enjoyed it. I want to thank both of you. I'm really looking forward to doing this every Tuesday. I want to thank the audience. You guys are so great. Like the comments were on fire. We can't do it without you guys. I don't know if you watched during COVID era when there was nobody watching these sports live. There was no energy, and the same would be if it was a dead chat. That's how I would be feeling right now. I want to thank our sponsors. Without them, it would not be possible. Thank you to FanDuel. And thanks to Jacob for producing. You did a great job, and I'm really looking forward to being with you guys again next week, Tuesday. Tomorrow we got a treat. Hammer Daily, another episode, and we got some special GRP programming coming up tomorrow as well on the Hammer HQ. From everybody, I want you to have a great evening and good luck with your bets this week.